Can you hear the trumpets? It's finally here! Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire are released today, and I cannot tell you how happy I am. I've been a fan of the series since basically the beginning of my life. In fact, the first game I had ever played was Pokemon Silver, and from that point on, I had acquired every main Pokemon game and almost every spin-off game. I've played the previous game, Pokemon X and Y, for over 600 hours and got every single shiny Pokemon. Needless to say, when the Pokemon Company announced that they would be remaking Pokemon Sapphire and Ruby for the 3DS, I screamed in excitement. Generation 3 was by far my favorite Pokemon generation, with Ruby and Sapphire in the Pokemon Coliseum games, so my hype levels were extremely high. However, despite this hype bias towards the Pokemon franchise, I will attempt to review this game from the perspective of a Pokemon fan and a newcomer to the series who has started with this game. Nevertheless, I have completed this game in 15 hours, but that begs the question, does it meet the fans' expectations? Is it a true representation of the original game while still bringing something new to the table? And after just a year, how is it different from X and Y? Well, let's dive into this game. Our story begins with the player moving into Little Root Town with his mother. Before you can relax in your new home, a professor called Professor Birch gets ambushed by a wild Poochyena, and you are tasked with defeating it using either the Grass-type Trico, the Water-type Mudkip, or the Fire-type Torchic. You are then given the quest to become champion of the Pokemon League. To do that, you must get 8 gym badges from beating each gym's leader, then take on the Elite Four, and after that, beat the current champion. As you progress through Hoenn, other battle-thirsty trainers will challenge you, including your next-door neighbor May, who seems to have the hots for you. Every time you see her, she always seems to want to spend more time with you, and has a lot of affection towards you, which is kind of weird considering that you have literally been in Little Root Town for only 10 minutes. Also, as per typical Pokemon game, you will need to take down an evil gang, bent on essentially eradicating everything on Earth. If you have Omega Ruby, a gang called Team Magma will attempt to evaporate the world using Groudon, and if you have Alpha Sapphire, a gang called Team Aqua will attempt to flood the world using Kyogre. What is different about this team's goal in the remakes is that they go a step further by the teams planning to revert Groudon or Kyogre to their ancient, more powerful forms using a process called primal reversion. Now, I don't want to spoil anything too much, but the teams, in typical Pokemon fashion, realize their wrongdoings, and you must catch or defeat the legendary Pokemon wreaking havoc. The story, mainly driven by dialogue, is well written and interesting. Although I knew what would happen at every point, the story never seemed bland. The characters were fleshed out to be dynamic beings with their own distinct personality and charm. For instance, as Kyogre is awakening, Archie, the leader of Team Aqua, becomes mad and power-hungry, but then realizes that Kyogre's actions will cause all human, and especially Pokemon existence, to end. He was characterized throughout the whole game as some strong, vain leader, but at the end, he becomes vulnerable. Through his dialogue and actions, you can truly see how upset he is about eradicating all Pokemon life on the planet. It was my favorite part of the game due to the fascinating way it was all conveyed. In this final scene, each character's words and body language show how emotional real living beings would get if they realized that the world was ending. Oh, and May kinda shows up at the end for almost no reason, and I legitimately thought she was going to ask for one more Pokemon battle before the world ended. After the main story ends, other events start to open up. For one, an all-new plot begins, called the Delta episode, which speaks more about Mega Evolution, and ties in 2 new legendary Pokemon, and an all-new character. I don't want to speak of this storyline because the mystery of not knowing anything about it personally made it more exciting and interesting. Now, regarding the gameplay, I won't speak much about it because it plays virtually like every Pokemon game plays, but with a few exceptions. For one, Mega Evolution returns from Pokemon X and Y with new Mega Evolutions like Mega Swampert, Mega Sceptile, and Mega Sharpedo. These new Mega Evolutions are spectacular, and the stat boosts make Mega Pokemon like Camerupt more viable in competitive play. Even Kyogre and Groudon get another form of evolution called Primal Reversion. It is essentially the same thing as Mega Evolution, but it's just called a different name. Also returning from Pokemon X and Y is the EXP share, which is useful for those who do not want to grind Pokemon to get their party equally leveled. Once again, there is an option to turn it off and on for those who do not want to go the easier route. In addition to these returning features, Oris boosts tons of new ones and innovates old ones. For one, the player can now move in 16 directions, which is something I griped a lot about not being in Pokemon X and Y. This replaces their roller skates as well, well, which is a welcome change considering D-pad movement seemed clunky and a step in the wrong direction in Pokemon X and Y. Another improvement in mobility is after you beat the legendary Pokemon, you are given a flute that allows you to fly all over Hoenn on the back of the Mega Latios or Latias. This was by far the best part about the game for me. I soared in the skies for hours, discovering new locations since you can land anywhere in Hoenn from the skies, on routes, on islands, or even in towns. This basically eliminates the need for fly and I love it. I have wanted a mechanic to fly on a Pokemon's back since I was a little kid, and now that it's here, you can bet I'll be spending hours upon hours just flying around Hoenn. Oh, and speaking of all this flying and discovery, there is a ton to explore in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. With all the water and smaller islands, there is so much to see and so much to do. Never did it feel like there was too much water. After all, this game is on an island, and I actually enjoyed surfing around and diving beneath the seas. Sure, there are more water types in this game, but honestly, I never felt like it was a detriment to the overall enjoyment of the game. To be honest, I felt like there were more dark types in this game due to the many battles with Team Aqua and their usual Sharpedo and Mightyena combination. You heard it here, folks. Too much dark. 0 out of 10. Adding on to the large quantities of feature is the innovation of the secret bases, contests, and Pokénav. You can now share your secret base with your friends or others via Street Pass or using a QR code. I still haven't fully done everything there is to do with secret bases, but I can tell you can put a lot of hours into finding every single secret base and finding all the items there is to put in those bases. Contests, however, are something I will not be spending a lot of time in. I personally just did not enjoy making my Pokemon a certain way to please judges, but the cosplay Pikachu is amazing. The last thing, the Pokénav, is very interesting. You can use it near grass to identify the Pokemon and the IVs of said Pokemon. I didn't really use this feature much since I was just playing through the main game without trying to discover everything at first, but I can tell you I'm going to be going back and trying to upgrade my Pokénav further. Despite all of this new content, some things like the Battle Frontier and Game Room were cut. I didn't mind features like the Game Room being removed, but I was a tad disappointed with the removal of the Battle Frontier. Like my other gripes for this game, the Battle Frontier's omission didn't really bother me too much, and I almost forgot about it until I went to the post-game city and discovered a model of it. With these new features and always amazing RPG gameplay, no other Pokemon game seems to live up to how well Oris plays, and all that there is to do. Oh, and this game not only excels in the gameplay, but its overall presentation is glorious. The 3D graphics have never looked better, and the new perspective shots are great. Although, much like Pokemon X and Y, there is a fair bit of lag in battles. Besides the lag in battling, the game runs at a smooth 60 FPS all the time. The models of the Pokemon look stunning, and battle animations are simply a joy to watch. Additionally, the cutscenes are the most graphically impressive cutscenes in any 3DS games. The cutscenes that occur before you battle a gym leader and the cutscene that plays at the end of the game are marvelous. Not to mention, this is probably the best looking 3DS game out there. Never is this made more clear than when you are flying above Hoenn. It is truly a sight to behold in 3D and in 2D. I simply adore the art direction as well. The prominent usage of the lighter colors makes it more appealing and cause every detail to pop. Also, the music in this game is by far the best music in any Pokemon game to date. The remixed Littleroot Town theme and the rival battle theme are among my favorites. All things considered, this is my favorite Pokemon game in the series, and I would recommend it to veterans and people who want to try out a new Pokemon game. The lag and omission of certain features are negligible in my overall feelings towards the game. In my eyes, this game is virtually perfect. Therefore, this game deserves a 10 out of 10. The game is perfectly crafted. Sure, there are a lot of HMs, but their usage only added to my sense of enjoyment. When I discovered new things using these HMs or just was traveling to new locations using them, it never felt like they were overused at all. This game is a blast from start to finish, even regardless of what version you get. Each story has its own unique quirks. I would say they're equally as good. Although if I had to pick, I would pick Omega Ruby because I like the character of Maxie more. I loved every bit of this game. If you own a 3DS, this is a must-buy for the system. However, if you disagree with my opinions, let me know in the comments below. Have a wonderful day and take care. Goodbye.